Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Wahru Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Many blessings and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the house of David, the Baal, our die, for whom these epistles are written for in these last days. Shalom to the elect. Salakia, shalom to the elect. So I came across this article. I thought it was pretty interesting, so I wanted to bring it out to the body. And it just goes into, understanding that Esau knows that his time is short. He knows that it's almost over. He knows that, there's no reversing nuclear annihilation, right? Or the possibility of it. There's no reversing, because once that button's pressed, everybody else apparently has nukes too. So, he's going to, that's why he's going so hard to try to stop Iran and all these other countries from gaining access to nuclear weapons, because that would even the playing field. And Esau does not believe in equaling the playing field, okay? So this is from RT News. It says the age of American nuclear privilege is over. Nuclear privilege. That's how you know it's Edomite supremacy that's ruling this earth. How the hell do you have privilege to have a weapon of mass destruction? How the fuck does that work? But in the logicless brain of Esau, it makes perfect sense, right? Because actually, according to his prophecy, that Isaac gave on, his blessing, all right, which Isaac blessed upon him, was the power of the sword, and that's how we rule the earth. But now that everybody has a sword of their own, right, so to speak, right now, he feels threatened. So this is his demise that's going to happen. Again, this is not going to be a long lesson, but I thought it was an interesting article. All right. It says the question of nuclear proliferation is no longer hypothetical. It is happening. The only uncertain now is how quickly it will proceed. well, the scriptures can answer that for you, right? It's not going to be long. Because, America might get a few of them off. They're going to hit a few countries. There are going to be some countries that are going to get hit. But America's going to be the only country that is scheduled to be desolated. Meaning, there's going to be, where people are now, ain't going to be no more people. Because they're going to all be on fire and turn into dust. This is Ezekiel 35:1. It says, moreover, the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. And that's what we're doing. Day in and day out, we go into lessons just like this to show how short of the time, or how the time is being shortened for the elect's sake, of course, but how time is being shortened to now everyone has nukes and everyone's threatening each other with it. Okay? And Esau has created a playing field where it's unstable. He knows this, right? It says, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem al Shah, thy power, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. And that's how you know it's talking about America, because there's only one powerful nation, all right? There's really only one the most powerful nation ever on planet Earth, in planet Earth's history, right, which is America, right? The biggest kingdom, the best military, more powerful than Rome, Greece, Egypt, Babylon, the most powerful nation as far as military might and economic wise ever to grace the earth's face, right? And it says it's going to make it most desolate. Right? It's not talking about those other nations. It's not talking about those other kingdoms. It's talking about America. Right? It says, I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahweh. That's right. So, and that's a promise that he made unto Esau. Right? Mount Seir. What does Mount represent? It represents the top government, the highest form of government. And Mount Seir, right, which we know Seir is over in the land of Jordan, or close by, where it would be, right? Mount Seir represents Esau, Edom. And who's the top Edomites on the planet Earth? It's these Americans. These are the top Edomites, right? So-called white people, right? These are the top Edomites. So when the Lord says Mount Seir, he's addressing you. He's talking to the most powerful government on the earth. He ain't talking to Rome. He ain't talking to the UK, which those places are going to be destroyed too. Because once America falls, guess what? The whole system falls because we're going to come into power. Sounds crazy now, but keep watching the movie. All right, it says, it says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel. And this is the reason why. This is why you're going through the economic turmoil you're going through. This is why you have infighting. This is why you have unsustainable wars, right, with countries that have nuclear options on the table. This is why you're going through all that, which is ultimately going to lead to your desolation. You played with the Lord, and the Lord was not playing with you, but he kind of was, right? Let's get Jeremiah 50 and 23, one of my favorites. This is this is Jeremiah 50 and 18. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. It says that the Most High of Israel, behold, I will punish the king of Babylon and his land. Right? Who's the king of Babylon? Mount Seir. Right? He goes by many different names. It says, and I have punished, as I have punished the king of Assyria, which is of Babylon, right? So he's talking about a new Babylon. He ain't talking about the ancient Babylon, right? Mystery Babylon, if you understand. It says, and I will bring Israel again to his habitation, which is our land. We're going to clean that land up and get those dirty gutter rats out of our land. It says, and he shall feed on Camel and Bashan, Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead, right? We're going to go back to our land when this whole deal goes down, right? Because in order for us, the prophecy of Israel to go back to the land that they were supposed to inhabit, right? From the beginning, there's got to be a nuclear war. That's, if you understand prophecy, you'll understand that America being destroyed is the thing that gets us to where we need to go. It's got to happen. We don't have no weapons. All we're doing, the weapon we have is the Bible. And it makes people nervous, and I get it. But also, we don't care. All right, it says, in those days and in that time, saith the Lord Yahweh, the iniquity of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none. And the sins of Judah, and they shall not be found. That's right. They're talking about the elect. Okay, it says, for I will pardon them whom I reserve. And he's talking about the elect. You go to Romans 11 and 4 down to 7. It explains that. Okay, because he's reserved only for the elect. All right. Verse 20. Verse 21, it says, go up against the land of Merathaim, okay, even against it, and against the inhabitants of Pekod, waste and utterly destroy after them, saith the Lord Yahweh, and do according to all that I have commanded thee. That's right. The Lord is commanding these armies around the world to basically get their nuclear capability up to a point where it's unsustainable for America to try to impede in their affairs. But we know how America, the American Edomites, what they're going to do. They're going full force. They're not going to stop. Stop for what? The Lord didn't create them to stop. He created them to just continue moving in wickedness. It says, verse 22, a sound of battle is in the land, and a great destruction, and of great destruction, right? Right? Verse 23, it says, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Because he created, or he was in a situation where his blessing has turned against him. It's turned into a curse. His blessing has turned into a curse onto him. That's how the Lord gets you, right? He gave that, he bestowed that upon Isaac, which was Yahushua, right? Because that's how he's going to return. Isaac will return, okay? And he's going to finish you off and then take the rest of you into captivity. Talking about the heads, the kings of Babylon, right? It says, how was the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Verse 24, it says, I have laid a snare for thee, right? So he gave you that blessing through Isaac because you cried like a little bitch. So you cried until you got your way, right? You took that blessing and you took over the entire world. You started with Rome. No, you started with the Greeks, right? You were the Greeks. You started starting to try to take over the world, and it didn't necessarily work out. Then you tried to take over. You did take over the known world at that time with the Romans. So you started with the Greeks, and you went to the Romans, and now you failed for a little while, and now you're back in your little season as the Romans all over again, trying to complete that, and you did. You have taken over the entire world and the dew of heaven, right? Which is just not the complete outer space, but in some capacity space within that radiation, right? Where you're not going to be able to get that total radiation field, right? So you completed your prophecy. You completed through the Romans, like you were prophesied to do. You were going to take over the entire world, and you have done that. Now here's the other part of the prophecy. It says, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware that thou art found and also caught, and caused because thou hast striven against the Lord Yahweh. That's right. So you didn't know or realize that blessing was going to turn against you at some point, right? Because you were living high off the hog, right? You were chilling. And nobody's gonna punish me. Well, the Lord said differently, right? He's coming to collect too. Verse 25, it says, the Lord Yahweh have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, those intercontinental ballistic missiles that are now positioned all over the world by major countries. It says, for this is the work of the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the Lord power Yahweh power Yahweh, all right, of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. Come against her from the uttermost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Yeah, the Lord ain't checking. He ain't playing around, man. Okay, he's not playing around. He's not kidding. He said prophesy against Mount Seir, and that's what we're doing. We're prophesying against the top government on the planet Earth, which is the American government, which is the reincarnation of the Roman Empire. This is the second leg of that same Roman Empire, according to prophecy. So you have all the structures, you got senates, okay? The only thing different now is you got a president. But other than that, you still got Congress, you got senates, you got all that shit. Same thing you had before as Romans. Now you just wear business suits instead of togas. You feel me? You still same weird ass goddamn bathhouses, okay? Weird ass fetishes, same shit. You're here again, just like we are. We're the Hebrew Israelites. We're back again, okay, to fulfill the lot of pulling you out of power, and that's what's happening, right? Ezekiel 35:4 says, I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahweh. because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. That's right. So our iniquity is at an end, but if you're trying to increase punishment upon us, man, you getting out of fucking hand. Now the Lord gonna have to intervene. You shed the blood of the children of Israel, and that pissed off the Lord within itself. But also, now you going even harder, and you making threats. You telling the Lord what He ain't gonna do. All right, we'll see how that goes for you. Verse 6, it says, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashemah, shall thy power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. That's right. Right? That's why them Edomite women, they love that red nail, them red nails. They love that shit. Reminds them of blood. That's why I hate that shit. You know what I'm saying? Bloody hands, man. Okay? Do we have to go through Emmett Till and, while there's literally cities that are under the water, or towns, whole towns that are underwater because of the word of a so-called white woman? Let's not act like that wasn't a thing, or not a thing, because it still is happening. We just got a word for them now. Call them Karens. Right? So, with that being said, Mount Seir is on its way out. Okay, we're going to go back to the article real quick. It said, the age of, what is this? The age of nuclear privilege. Yeah, it's over. Time is short. Your time specifically, right? It says the question of nuclear proliferation is no longer hypothetical, it is happening. The only uncertainty now is how quickly it will proceed. In the not too distant future, we may see 15 nuclear powers instead of today's 9. Yet there is a little reason to believe this development will fundamentally upend international politics or bring about global catastrophe. That's bullshit. That's you projecting. You're hoping that it doesn't bring that, but it will. For you, sir, it will. Okay? The invention of nuclear weapons was a technological breakthrough that reshaped global affairs. More than anything else, nuclear weapons define the military hierarchy of states, creating the threat that no government can ignore. That's right. When Russia talks that shit, you better know America's listening. They hear these prophecies. You don't think they don't know? Of course they know. Right? They hear these prophecies. The king of Babylon has heard this. Matter of fact, it says that in the scriptures. Okay? Yep. You don't think these so-called, no, I'm talking about the elites. You don't think they know about these prophecies? Well, why do you think they building bunkers? Huh? Why do you think they got underwater cities? Why do you think they're trying to go to space so bad? Because they're trying to escape this the prophecies, and they can't. This is Jeremiah 50 and 43. It says, the king of Babylon have heard the report of them, talking about the prophets, and his hands waxed feeble. Right? Anguish took hold of him as pangs as a woman in travail. That's right. So, man, they are scared. Don't let them them grins, no, with a grinning, skinning and grinning. Yeah, don't let them grins fool y'all. Them damn devils are scared as hell, and they will, and they should be. They are scared as hell. They know that this shit is almost over with, right? Which is why that's gonna give him carte blanche, right, to just go crazy. Cause he like, fuck it. I got nothing else to lose. Right? This is Revelation 12 and 12. It says, therefore, and that's why when you jakes, that's all on proud and shit. You know, all you proud ass jakes that think that, oh man, ain't nothing gonna happen to so-called foundational black Americans. Listen, my nigga, you need to get a grip. You living in a story that's not gonna end well for 2/3 niggas. It is not profitable to be a 2/3 energy type of nigga in these times. Not profitable at all. Downright stupid. But somebody's got to play that part, right? It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. So them heavens, all right, we're looking upon New Jerusalem, which is heaven coming from outer space, coming down onto this earth to bring a new government. We're thinking of that government. We don't give a shit about this one. That government is going to give us the freedoms that we're looking for, where we don't have to get up and work for someone else and make their money and we don't make shit. Living job check to check. Huh? Living in a goddamn 1-bedroom apartment. You know what I'm saying? We're looking at bigger and better. That's why Mount Seir got to go. It's got to go. Right? It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. He knows that his time is short, so he's going to try to act with malice. Y'all gonna see them horns come out, and he gonna show you what the devil truly looks like on earth. Y'all gonna see another side of the so-called white man y'all never seen before. I'm telling you, this is all a prophecy. Because guess what? He knows that his time is short, man. He knows that it's almost over with. And this article is just proving a lot more of that, right? Perhaps their most profound consequence is the emergence of states that are essentially immune to external aggression. This was never true in the long history of war. No matter how powerful a state was, a coalition of rivals could always defeat it. The great empires were vulnerable to invasion. The Enlightenment era monarchies, including Russia, depended on a balance of power system where no single nation could dominate the rest. It says, but with nuclear weapons, that balance shifted. Two countries, Russia and the U.S., now possess such an overwhelming destructive capability that neither can be seriously threatened, let alone defeated, even by a coalition. That's bullshit. The Bible proves him wrong, and let's go ahead and get the Bible to prove him wrong, right? Because what he's doing is he's speaking from hope, from a place of hope, right? But the Lord said, "Nah, I got something for Esau. I'm gonna make your land most desolate, meaning there ain't gonna be no more people in America. There won't be in America, right?" This is Jeremiah 50 and 14. It says, put yourselves in array against Babylon, which is America, round about, all ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, right? So what kind of arrows can shoot from one end of the earth unto the other? Okay, it says, spare no arrows, for she have sinned against the Lord Yahweh. Shout against her round about. She have given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh. Take vengeance upon her, as she have done, do unto her. And that's what's going to happen. Led by Russia. The Lord has strategically placed Vladimir Putin and the Russians as the complete opposite of America, although they are Edomites as well. Right? That's what America would be. America would be what Russia is today without the Israelites. All bland. Looks a little boring, a little stiff. Just bread and a lot of mayonnaise, no meat. That's what it is. Right? So the Lord has seen the aggression towards the Israelites, and that greatly has pissed him off. So now he's placed in a position, that blessing, all right, which is the blessing of the sword, right? Esau is proficient with the sword, but not everybody got a sword. And now he has to contend with other nations. He's got to speak softly, and that Esau hates that shit. He got to speak with some respect. Esau hates that shit, man, right? It says, China too is gradually joining the exclusive tier through its arsenal is still a fraction of Moscow's and Washington's. In this sense, nuclear weapons have brought a strange kind of peace, not from trust but from terror. War between nuclear superpowers is not only unthinkable; it is politically irrational. But who cares about that? He's speaking. This guy who's narrating this article, writing this article, he is hoping. But I'm here to speak against his hope because there is no hope in the inevitable, right? It says, becoming a nuclear superpower, however, is extremely expensive. Even China, with its vast resources, has only recently begun to approach the scale of Russian and American stockpiles. Few others can afford the same path. But here's the thing: when Russia and China and the other nations, the BRICS nations, get together, and when they finally convince the EU and NATO that their alliance with America is void and none, null and void. I'm sorry, null and void. You should join us. They're the problem. That's what's gonna be said when they do that joint meeting as the war is kicking off. They're gonna say, "Look, we could destroy you too, but we don't want to. We actually have some partnerships that we would like to strengthen. But the problem is America." That is how it's gonna go. They're gonna say America and 1948 is over there in the Middle East, right? They're gonna say it's them two. We gotta get them out of the way, and then we can go back to having partnership. We can bring in the New World Order, but they're in the way of it. They're making things hostile. Fortunately, most countries don't need to major major regional powers like India, Pakistan, Brazil, Iran, Japan, and even smaller ones like Israel do not seek military invincibility on a global scale. That's bullshit. Anyway, it says do not seek military invincibility on a global scale. Their nuclear ambitions, where they exist, are regional in nature, aimed at deterring neighbors, not conquering continents. Their limited arsenal do not upset the global balance of power. That's bullshit. All that bend the bow, shoot at her. Everyone. Okay? So yeah, these devils are like this devil right here. He's trying to he's trying to keep this. He's trying to keep the peace, man. But there ain't no keeping the peace, man. Right? Proliferation may be regrettable. It may complicate diplomacy, but it is not madness. It is a rational response by sovereign states to a system where only nuclear armed nations can truly secure their interests. The monopoly of power enjoyed by a handful of countries is eroding. That is not a failure of the system, it is logical outcome of it. The strategic architecture of the post-war world has long been rested on a fiction that non-proliferation is universal and that the West can police it indefinitely. This fiction is now collapsing. Countries are learning that treaties mean little without enforcement and that security cannot be outsourced. That's right. In the long run, this will require a new approach. A world with 15 nuclear powers may not be ideal, but it's manageable. No, it's not. It says, especially if the dominant players act with restraint and responsibility. Russia, as one of the original nuclear powers, understands this burden well. It will not be Moscow that upends this balance, but the West, driven by arrogance and short-term calculations, may yet provoke a crisis it cannot control. Washington's recklessness in East Asia, its casual indifference to the risk it imposes on aliens, it's like on allies, and its determination to maintain strategic dominance at all costs. That is the real danger. And that's why the Lord is going to lay this place flat, man. It's going to be a well-deserved destruction, man. Right? Well-deserved. You're gonna deserve all of this. This is Ezekiel 35:7. It says, "Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passed out, and him that returneth." He's gonna cut off your seed line. It says, "And I will fill his mountains with the slain with his slain men in thy hills and in thy valleys, and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword." So he's turning that blessing, all right. He blessed Esau with the power of the sword, and he's turning that blessing into a curse. It says, "I will make the perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return," America. It says, "And ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, because thou hast said, these two nations and two countries shall be because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas the Lord Yahweh was there. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, by Shema shall thy power, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy thou hast used out of thy hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee." Woo! So the Lord is going to bring that slain, and that body count is going to rise, and he ain't messing around. He ain't messing around. Okay? He is not messing around. What I want. Yeah, something else I wanted, but yeah. So the Lord is bringing the power of the sword upon Esau, and it's getting ready to be ugly out here. Okay, it's getting ready to be real ugly out here, and Esau, you got nobody to blame but yourself. Right? The Lord is bringing pain that you have never experienced before. You didn't even know this type of pain could exist, and he's going to bring it to you. Oh my goodness. Woe to the bloody city, because it's full of lies and robbery. All right? Woe to the bloody city, man. I think I wanted woe to the bloody city. This is Habakkuk 2:1. It says, "I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord Yahweh answered and said unto me, and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it." So that's what I'm doing. That's what brothers like myself are doing. Okay? We're spelling it out. Ezekiel 24:9, it says, "Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, by Shema shall thy power, woe to the bloody city, I will even make the power for fire great." Woo! Yo, the Lord's gonna destroy this place, man. All right? Ezekiel 24:6. It says, "Wherefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh by Shema shall thy power, woe to the bloody city, to the pot whose scum is therein, whose scum is therein, you Edomites." It says, "And whose scum is not gone out of it, bring it out of peace." It's like it bring it out piece by piece. Let no lot fall upon it. Thank the Lord playing with y'all. All right. Lord finna lay this place flat, man. Okay? Nahum 3:1, it says, "Woe to the bloody city, it is full of lies. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not." That's right. Ezekiel 3:3, it says, "The horseman lift up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain, and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts. Is that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face," meaning he's going to expose you. It says, "And I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame." That's right. "And I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and will set thee as a gazing stock." Need I say more? The scriptures speak for themselves. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Al Shai, Ba'ashem Wahara Kwakadash, Shalom to the elect.